Hello and welcome to Mad Al Goes Racing, and today I'm taking a quick look at Kart Racing Pro. Now this is a title that's been around for since 2010 as a buy license. It's appeared on Steam in the last 12 months, I think. I would have to double check, I will look. But it's one of a series of simulators for both 2 and 4 wheels done by Poboso. They all appear to use a very similar graphics engine and the core physics engine, despite the fact some are 2 and some are 4 wheels, but presumably most of his physics are shared between a spring's a spring. So I'm just having a look at this, and I'm going to have a bit of a compare and contrast with KartKraft, which has also had a long gestation period. If I remember rightly, KartKraft was originally called Kart Sim and first appeared in 2007, and it's been making very slow progress since, but I think since appearing on Steam as KartKraft, it has made some good strides towards being a nice product. So let's start with, what do you get? Well, what you do get is effectively a full sim that allows you to do testing and play multiplayer. Now there's no AI, and as far as I'm aware, Poboso has always said there will never be any AI in any of his sims. Now, presumably that's just a choice he has made not to do that and to concentrate on a multiplayer and or play with yourself and yourself alone game, sim, call it what you want. Personally, I've always said I thought he was missing a bit of a trick by not having AI, because whilst many people are happy to jump in with both feet into a multiplayer session and don't mind being made to look silly, or it turns out they're the best things in sliced bread, other people like to have an idea of how they compare to the rest of the world before they start. Now, having a look at what you get, the usual selection of things. Now, it does have a challenge mode, and I can't remember what the challenge mode is, but I think, you have to have logged into a specific website, registered, got a load of other things. I think he's done the same with all of his sims, so basically you can record your best laps and compare how good you are for all the different classes of all the different karts, all the bikes, at all the different circuits. I think I may have registered a million years ago for the GP bikes one, but I certainly haven't bothered with it much. Basic stuff, testing, race, challenge. Well, the race is multiplayer only, and testing is what we're going to have a look at in a minute. It does record all your best laps for all the circuits in all the different classes, so you can keep a good eye on what you've been up to. Profiles, not particularly worried about that. Kart, well, this is what you get in the way of choice of karts. There are 7 classes. Yep, 7 classes, including an electronic kart. All of them are 2-stroke, apart from this one, which is a 250 4-stroke, and this one, the Mini 60, is a cadet or child's class. And you even get, and this is one of the things that does take a moment, you even get a small person in a cute. Now, we're going to have a go in the, I think it was KF1, was a single speed car. Info on all of them there. Yep. 125cc, single speed. The KF3, I believe, or it may be the KZ1, is the shifter kart. Wrong one. Must be the KZ. 6-speed shifter kart. Now, I don't know if at some point there was a talk of introducing supercarts, but I don't know how much more you'd have to do, because supercarts are like 250 motorcycle Grand Prix engines, 110 horsepower potentially. Although there hasn't been a 250 race class in motorcycle racing for quite some time, a lot of the engines are based on the original Rotax 256, which was a tandem twin, which means one cylinder at the front, one cylinder behind, and counter-rotating crankshafts. Interesting engine, disc valve. Back in the early 80s when they first came out, they produced around about 60 brake horsepower, but they added power valves and all sorts of interesting things to them to improve the power band, make it a bit wider. Not that they were that bad in the first place. Definitely plenty of potential for good power output. I think the last engine I looked at was one made in the 1990s. That was a replica of a 256 made by somebody for karting, and that was 9,500 horsepower, something daft anyway. And that, when you consider the karts weigh, as in this one, 175 kilo, I think the two strokes possibly less than that, so you're talking 125, 130 kilos possibly, and 100 plus horsepower. That's going to go very quickly. They do over 150 miles an hour, which is why they have wings on them to get around the corners a bit quicker. There was, of course, in Project Cars, the original, a 250 supercar, and that thing was a monster to drive and immense fun. But that's a different story. So, back to here. Like I said, we're going to have a go with the KF1 single speed kart. And we're going to go to the Rye House Karting Centre and drive a few laps. Now, whilst there's probably a lot more content in Kart Racing Pro, it obviously has a lot more karts than KartKraft at the moment. KartKraft is definitely due to get at least one more kart in the very near future, and I don't know how many they're planning for the final product, but considering the price of it, if they carry on just producing more content for it, I think most people will be very happy with it. Now, KartKraft's settings are reasonably limited, but they all make sense because it's all about adjusting the jacking, adjusting the weight balance, and jacking is where, as you go around a corner, the chassis flexes and lifts the wheel to allow you to go round on a tricycle effectively. So as you've got a fixed axle, one wheel has to be able to go round a larger diameter than the other wheel, and of course that means that they effectively have to go different speeds. They can't, they're on a fixed axle, so all you can do is apply slip, and you do that by allowing the tyre to move off the ground slightly. It can sort of stay slightly in contact with the ground, so you do effectively introduce some extra slip on it, or you could get it right in the air. But the thing is, the way it does it, how quickly it does it, what speed it does it, all can be adjusted by adjusting the way the kart jacks. Now, the garage in here is, to put it bluntly, quite overwhelming. You got the obvious stuff, like choose what tyres you're going to put in. I think you got the usual 4 compounds: soft and medium, and a wet. Brake leverage. Now, brake leverage, as opposed to brake intensity, is the opposite of what you think. So you set it to high, and high leverage means you actually get less braking, or you have to press harder to get the brakes to work. I assume you can set how quickly the engine idles, carburetor. What it really needs above anything else is some explanation, which would be really nice. Now, I don't know whether Popoto has anything on the website. I did have a quick look. Couldn't really find anything that was particularly, oh, here's how to set your car up. A lot of people going, oh, you should be a karter, you should know how to set your car up. Not very helpful, but I'm sure if you asked the right people in the right places, they should be able to tell you what the various bits and pieces do, or you can do what most people do, which is experiment and see what happens. In terms of chassis, it has all of these, which may or may not apply to all of the different karts. I'm assuming some work, some don't. I mean, you can change that, so presumably that does something. Again, how much the effect all of these have, I don't know. You could spend forever and a day messing with things and trying to drive consistent laps. I mean, obviously things like the seat, the horizontal position is how far back or forward it is, which affects the weight distribution, and the vertical is again how high up it is, which will affect how high your centre of balance is, or centre of gravity. And higher should mean it forces the cart more to turn the jack in again, so you're implying more flex into the chassis as you're doing things. There should be things like Ackerman as well, so I don't know if it's somewhere around here. Obviously, drive ratios you can adjust to improve top speed or acceleration. Yep, you have Ackerman now. It just says standard max min. Well, again, firstly you have to know what Ackerman is, and then secondly you've got to understand what it does when you change it. Now, I think personally the best bet is just go out, change it, see what happens, come back in. Obviously the different tracks, if you've got a track with all high-speed corners, you probably want a completely different setup, because you'll need a different amount of jacking as well as faster or slower turning. This obviously does tell you what your current track, ride height and everything else is, so you might get an idea from things like how much load is on the front versus the rear of what effects are having on what. How effective it is, couldn't say. I'm not a specialist in karting. I'm certainly not a specialist in setting up a kart. Practically all the karting I've done has been on arrive and drive, which means you get in it, you put your foot on the throttle, off you go, and it either goes around the corner or it doesn't. And if it doesn't, you live with it. So, I'm going to leave it exactly as it is, and presumably that is all the standard. Yep. And we're just going to go. I didn't want to save anything. Right. I forgot to change something. So, to the track. Now, in terms of quality, the tracks are somewhere around, I don't know, the better quality R factor probably look. The whole thing's OpenGL, which means you better have a good OpenGL card to run it. The requirements aren't actually that high, although how well it does play on really low end equipment I wouldn't like to say. Like all these things, suck it and see. There is a demo, I will post a link, and as you can see, it's not bad looking at all. Now, I think I've got everything wound up about as high as it will go. It does have full dynamic track. It's dry lines, everything. So everything's there that you need for a full-on simulation. How accurately it does everything. According to reviews on Steam, it's very accurate. Let's give it a bit of welly. Now, one thing I've always found about this is it's always felt rather abrupt. So, look. So when you do get the back end to jack, it does seem to turn quite quickly. Now, whether that's because the default setup on this particular kart is horrible, doesn't suit my driving style, or I'm just not driving it correctly, I'm not sure. But it doesn't have that sort of arrive and drive feel that you want. Oh, that was interesting. We seem to have got rather stuck. I'm guessing we took a little bit too much curb there. I can't say that happens a lot, but you can feel the sort of like joins on the edge of the track here. There's a little bit of a lump there, and you will feel it through the FFP. Now, I can't remember if this kart has got front and rear brakes or not, but I know one thing, that the rear brakes are a bit sharp. And if I can remember what the letter was, oh no, I can't. If you get stuck, you have to press a specific button to push yourself backwards. And I can't remember what I've said, but we will return to the pit again and try once again. Now, as I said, this has full wet track, full dry track, rubber build-up, all the dynamic lines and everything else. And I have to say, he's done a damn good job of implementing all of that, considering he is a one-man band. I can't say I've really spent an inordinate amount of time playing this. I did buy a license for it in 2011, 2012, so it did take rather a long time to start to show promise, but I think it genuinely does show promise. There are certain things about it that possibly a bit too realistic almost, but then he is trying to sell it as a training aid for real karters, but I think if you're going to sell something as a training aid for real karting, you would have to sell it with laser scan tracks, because although the tracks look nice, I'm not so sure that in fact every single one of them seems to be a billiard table is particularly helpful if you are really setting the car up and trying to get a handle on how do you set your car up for a really bumpy circuit as opposed to a billiard table smooth circuit. So that's one of the downsides of it in terms of what you're going to get. I mean, I haven't personally beaten a Rye House, so I can't say it is or isn't accurate, but all the circuits are nicely put together. Like I said, they all a bit too much of a billiard table, really. terms of support, it does support Track IR. I'll remember what it's called in a minute. Track IR. It has full triple screen support, whether that's via sort of Infinity stroke NVIDIA surround, or whether that's a native one. I'm not sure. I don't have a triple screen setup, and I never bothered to ask anybody. It does, however, have VR support with individual support for both the Oculus and the Vive, and presumably it will work with the newer WMR stuff and the later second gen VR equipment. And it's actually not bad at all in VR. And that is one of the things I find, the brakes are a bit too quick to lock. Maybe I'm not sure if that's a brake locking or whether it's just causing a slight turning, causes jacking. But that's one thing I will say is I've always found it feels like almost speed sensitive with the steering. As you go faster, it seems to lose some of the directness, and then at low speeds it's ultra direct. Now whether that's a setup issue, whether that's just the way something works in the chassis setup, I don't know. Whether it's something strange in the FFB, I don't know. We'll just go and have a look in the settings and see if there is anything I've missed. I don't think there is. Settings, input. Now, I'm assuming this setup is the same across all the different games. So you do have front brakes, but I've actually tied them both to the brake pedal on my pedals. I'm assuming the linearity at 100% is linear. Certainly looks it. If we try 50% and see if it, or about 50%, see if it actually makes any difference. That may be a raw output, so I could try that and see if it makes any difference. I have indeed got some speed sensitive steering set, so I will disable that and see if it makes it feel any better. I'll also leave the linearity on 50% because that's how I feel. Below me. That feels considerably better. Now I'm not sure whether that was a default setting that I should have looked at years ago, or whenever I last installed this. Actually wasn't that long ago. It's nice to know that you're not absolutely going mad, and that when you think there is some non-linearity in the steering, it truly is actually deeper non-linearity in the steering, which shows at least that works. This is much better. It's much more direct. And it's bizarre how much changing the steering setup can actually change how badly you drive. I think about karts, they do not like turning around slowly, because obviously you can't get the jack. A friend of mine had a 250 National class car, which was a 250cc Yamaha was on an engine, and I literally drove it up the road to the end of his road and tried to turn round. And of course, because I'd gone up the road, tried to turn around slowly, I literally couldn't turn round. You had to go backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards, and made to look a bit of a plonker, really. Luckily his neighbours were quite used to him going up and down the road in noisy things, because he was a motorcycle racer like me, and had lots and lots of two-stroke motorcycles over the years, so ring ding ding up the straight, just to check the bike was running after a rebuild. Comes to a halt rather abruptly when you get going sideways, but at this point I think I can say it's definitely makes more sense with the steering set like this than it did before, so keep off the grass. It does not like that curve one iota. That one it doesn't like. Now, in amongst all the other things it's set up is putting your hand over the carb to make the mixture richer, to give you better acceleration. And I think you find when you hit the button to do it, it actually does the action as well. I'm not sure I've got a button set up for it, but if you're going along and you want to duck, you can press a button and your driver will duck down the steering wheel. It looks rather bizarre because he's quite a slow movement and quite a slow coming back. I'll just see if I've got a key set for that. I don't think I have. There we go, radiator arm cover, air choke, so you can do these. Now there is a brake bias. I'm not even sure that works on the karts. Right, push start, tuck, button 11. Wonder which one button 11 is. I think it's that one. Oop, there we go. So we do this, and boy does that look strange. Because obviously you've gone from being right up here to right down here, and you're trying to drive. Because when you get to a corner and let it off, it's really strange. So we will try one of the other karts and see if it's any different. you can see my lap times are terrible. And I think we'll try the F100, as I believe that was one of the first karts. I'll have to go and look in the all the release info, but I think the F100 was push to start. Wrong button. Go, 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 go. The sound is actually quite good because it's very directional. In some ways it's almost too directional. You can actually hear as you lead it in the corners and get the jacket and start going a little bit, you can actually hear the outside or the inside of the turn where the tyre is scrubbing, where it's jacked. This kart is considerably more stable than the previous one, which means it's much less likely to do a pirouette on you and doesn't suddenly stop halfway around a corner through being overjacked. Now, it would be really nice if somebody knew what they were doing, went through and set all the karts up to get them so they're all got a nice default like this, but whether anybody would or not, I don't know. Like I said, it would really help if somebody did it who knew what they were doing and what all the different things adjusted. Basically all you're doing is making a chassis that is more or less rigid. And over the years, chassis rigidity in all forms of motor racing really has been all over the place as people are going, you want a really rigid chassis? Oh no you don't, you want something with some flex in it, and you want the right type of flex in the right type of places. It's interesting that even now in the Motorsport Grand Prix, people like Honda will come along with their top end Grand Prix machine with aluminium chassis, and they'll put a piece of carbon fibre along the main spar to change how stiff it is. They may have, because you can't actually tell, they may have cut pieces out of the aluminium spar and then put some carbon fibre sheet over the top of it to actually make it slightly less rigid than it was with just a pure aluminium. And then there's a lot of bikes now coming out with carbon fibre swing arms as well, and the same's true of karting chassis. I mean, they're trying to think how long they've been karting for. I'll have to look it up, but karts have been around for a fair while, and obviously there are quite a few different chassis manufacturers, all with their own ideals, and considering fundamentally they're all very similar in that you won't have a lot of box sections and other things. You've got a fairly flat section with a wheel tucked onto each corner. It's amazing how much difference there is between the different chassis. And considering they obviously use, as far as I am aware, most of the series use a single tyre. That's one thing I've never quite managed to get the hang of with this. To get to the point where you can literally, now you've got to find the right top of the corner, but you literally sling a kart into a corner on the brakes and hang the back end sideways. And keep it hanging sideways with just enough brake to come into a corner with the back end out here as you're going this way. Now, last time I went karting was quite a few years ago at Kentford, which is out towards Newmarket. And a particular circuit layout, you came down the start-finish straight, round a nice long-ish bend, and into a hairpin. And I come around the long bend and sort of hitting the brakes whilst still going round it, so obviously it's trying to chuck the back end into the scenery, and it was just a matter of trying to balance the car on the brakes so you could get it to point at least a third of the way around the hairpin before you even got round to it. When it worked, it was really spectacular, and on a couple of occasions it really didn't work, it was even more spectacular. Sort of like that, but not quite like that. Come on. Oh, I've stalled it. Push, 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 push. So, what do I think? Is it worth the current 20 quid? Oh, yes. It's currently on sale, 30% off on Steam. If you want something for just driving around in, whether or not you take part in the multiplayer is entirely up to you, but just for the fun of driving around, tinkering, if you want to have a tinker with the karts and see how to play with the kart, and as far as I'm aware, he's used all the right terminology for all the different bits. So, have a play. Is it worth the money? Yes. Is it better than KartKraft? No. Is it different to KartKraft? Yes. It's possibly not as polished in terms of the artwork. The track surface is, due to the fact they're not laser scanned, definitely not got the variety of surface. How accurate they are relative to the tracks that are in it, in terms of camber, road crown, and everything else. So if you want to say this is a genuine sim for practicing before you went to somewhere like Rye House, I don't know how accurate you'd find it. Obviously, the way the track goes, left, right, can be as accurate as you like, but it doesn't necessarily mean that when you arrive and try out your kart, which you've set up to be as close to this as possible on whatever, that when you come to the first corner, it's got a degree of negative camber, whereas on here it's got a degree of positive camber. And a couple of degrees change in camber between being negative and positive would make a hell of a lot of difference to how fast you can go around a corner. Of course, if you know what you're doing and you can feel what the car's doing, it'll, like all forms of racing in motorsport, if you've got a feel for what the car or the bike or whatever you happen to be in is doing, you should get a reasonably quick idea that I couldn't go as fast as I thought I could round this corner because it's not quite how I thought it was going to be. So, and that's about track knowledge as much as it is about understanding how your vehicle reacts. So, give it a whirl. You can buy you can download a demo of this. I'm not sure what's in it from the demo version. Everything, well, I'll say what's in it. Everything's in it. It's a 1.1 gig download. It's got everything in it. I'm not sure what's locked and what isn't. I'll see if I can find that out. But because I've actually got a full license, I have everything unlocked. So I get all the circuits, all the karts. Don't ask me if that was fast or slow, I don't know. The did I see this? Right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 locations and 13 actual layouts, which is not too bad. So, like I said, this is moddable. There are instructions on the various Perboso forums for his different sims to give instructions on how to either create from scratch or import from somewhere else a current circuit to actually add to what's on here. I'm not sure if there's any difference between the way the circuits work between the different sims that he has actually produced himself, whether there are some differences. So you couldn't just take, say, Rye House and go and play it in the World Racing Series, which is another one of his, which is his car sim. Again, you can download a copy of it along with GP Bikes and along with MX Bikes, which is a motocross sim. So he's been working on these for a while. I think I got a license for GP Bikes back in 2007, so he's been at it for at least 12 years. I should think he's even greyer than I am by now. But compared with KartKraft, you can't compare them really. Have a look, see if you think this does things that you want. And like I said, at the moment on Steam it's 20 quid as opposed to being 30 quid, which is the full price. So you do get a reasonable amount of content with it. There is the opportunity to practice by yourself all day long, and you do get full multiplayer on it. And I believe there is a sort of matchmaking system built in. I'd have to look into it a bit more, but I believe there is a matchmaking system which is presumably based on how fast you're doing laps round a particular circuit. But whether or not there's actually the player base to support that, there's certainly less than 20,000 according to Steam Spy owners of, whereas KartKraft is already up to between 20 and 50,000. But like I said, this is originally a non-Steam purchase, so it's been kicking around for quite a while, so there may be considerably more people running it than you would think. But how many you would find, unless you find an organised league or something similar to play. I know the GP Bikes, they used to organise quite regularly sort of get-togethers to make sure that people turned up, so you'd have a reasonable field of people out every time. I'm assuming the Kart forum has much the same thing, although it doesn't seem anywhere near as active as some of the other forums. But give it a look. I'll put a link. I'll also put a link to GP Bikes, MX Bikes, if I can find it, and the WM World Racing Series, or World Series Racing, I can't remember which way around it is. And I'll add links to all of those, so you can go and download them. All available as demos, with limited access to what you can get. I mean, I think GP Bikes only comes with 2 tracks now, so there's a lot of mod tracks. WRS is 3 circuits, 1 off-road because it's got sprint cars, 1 off-road, 1 dirt oval, is it? Or is it a half and half dirt oval? And then Victoria, which is actually Phillip Island. I had to think about that. It's in Australia, to the side of the world. Yeah, Phillip Island, and it's called the Victoria Circuit. He's had that in GP Bikes and in WRS for a long time. GP Bikes originally had what's the name of the circuit? I'll remember it later and I'll put it in as a subtitle. It's one of the ones where they do the Skip Barber School. No, brain has decided to cease functioning for the evening. Thank you. Goodbye. Right. Whatever you do, just enjoy it. So, sim racing, it's about having fun. Stop being so competitive. Competitive people. Bah. Now, let's have a quick look at the tuning setup in KartKraft. And if we just go straight in the pits and select a kart, select a plain black one and select Dray, and under tuning, as you can see, the tuning setups are considerably simpler, and more importantly, it actually tells you, hopefully, what you get out of it. There is nothing worse than a tuning system than just having a bunch of buttons and things to play with and no idea what you're going to do with them. Okay, it can be fun to play with it and see how much it messes up your driving, but at other times you really just want to go, what do I need to tweak to get it to do this? And front end bite, I'm assuming by front end bite they mean when you turn in it grips up. Again, front end bite and jacking, and the jacking is again how much it causes the wheel to lift as you go around a corner, and of course the more it lifts, the less it's in contact with the ground, the more differential speed you can have, effective differential speed as you're going around a corner. Oh, I think I did it. Oh, yeah, I did. Doesn't tell you what the ride height does, but whether that would affect the jacking a huge amount, I'm not sure, or whether it would be something you'd do just to help getting over the curbs. Who knows? Oh, it did work. Again, you can adjust the seat position longitudinally and vertically, and at least this time it tells you what it does. It changes the weight balance. It doesn't actually tell you what it does in terms of the handling of the car other than changing the weight balance, but it should mean you get less pendulum effect, hopefully. And the centre of gravity again will affect how the higher up you are, the quicker you'll go left or right, and the faster the jacking will be, if I remember rightly. It's been a while since I actually looked into this. And the offset, I think that's effectively how wide the track is, which I think you can also adjust in Kart Racing Pro. Oh yeah, look. Although it only appears to adjust one wheel at a time, you would think it would adjust both and be symmetrical, but obviously not. Interesting, but there you go. But it does give you a live view of what it's altering as it alters it, which is actually quite interesting. So it'd be interesting to know which way it increases or decreases the rear grip. But in terms of how the car handles this, as I said, at the moment they've only got the one, but how it handles in this, I think it's reasonably neutral and quite nice. Brake strength, well, I think this thing's rear brake only. If I can, I can't. No, just revert it. Oh, there we go. If I rotate it, rear brake and no front brakes. So this one's rear only. There is one slightly strange thing on I noticed when I was having a look at a replay. The chain here, it doesn't actually stay where it is. It goes around the sprocket as you're driving along, which looks very strange. But that, and it's the way it likes to rattle my rumble pad on the Xbox controller when I'm driving, even though I'm not actually using the Xbox controller, are about the only two annoyances I can think of at the moment. Drive-wise, I didn't mention, but practice race where you can compete against AI, which is always nice. And the time trial actually has two ways you can do it. You can do it as a head-to-head. So we go to we'll go here. You can do it as a head-to-head, which is what they call face-off. And the face-off is literally you get the ghost of the next player above you to race against, and as soon as you beat them, you get a load of confetti and a bit of a you've been slapped down type thing on the screen. It's a reasonable way of doing it, but it can be annoying because you've obviously, if you've only just beaten them by a minute amount, you don't sort of go, oh, I can improve on the next lap. You're literally doing potentially a one lap wonder every time, whereas the other one is literally you just drive round and round and round and round and round and round, going as fast as you can until you can't go any faster, and then when you go, I've had enough, you retire and it'll upload your fastest time. And in many ways that's actually probably the better way of doing it. I mean, there's a lot of the yay, I've beaten somebody on the face-off bit, but it actually is quite bloody annoying. I mean, I'll give you a quick demo, and if I go back and go to, let's choose, I don't think I've got a time on this one, go face-off mode, and if we start the event, I'm assuming at some point they'll have a wet option. Load in. Right. And the time for talk is over. Where is it going to give me control? Halfway around the corner. Not too bad. Oh, and that horrible rattling noise is the fact I've forgotten to lift up my game controller because it's rattling. Now I'm going to put it on my lap and, oh, that's fun. Right, hang on, I got myself. No. Start again. Whoop. Now, despite the fact I completely lost the plot there, the cart didn't grind to a halt. Now, this is what I mean about a bit of let's have a load of confetti and and that's it. And it's taking a long time to upload. Why is it taking so long to upload? Get on with it. Right. Now look at this and I go, how long did it take me to do all that instead of getting on with putting some more carts in or something? But there you go. 107th in the national rank. You notice it does a global and a national, which I think is quite nice. I presume it's basing the global on the fact I think I said I was English. Who knows? But then it suddenly chucks you in again for another lap, so we'll try one more. And you get to spend hours doing this, going 1 lap, oh you've won, 1 lap, oh you've won. So I think the better bet's probably doing the go, do as many laps as you like, and then when you're finished, that's it. So, there you have that bit. I will try and cut this in amongst some of the stuff from Kart Racing Pro. I was trying to remember which one we're on at the moment. And have a bit of a comparison. Obviously, things like this has got photo mode, replay mode. There is a replay mode in... which one am I in? Oh yeah, Kart Racing Pro, which is actually quite nice. It does the job. I did actually manage to, on the Atlanta track, come around a corner and the last fast right before I get to the hairpin and then back to the start, I actually clipped the curb on the inside, got the car up on 2 wheels, and when it hit the curb in on the outside of the circuit, it actually went end over end. Unfortunately, can't save a replay, or can't see how you could save a replay on. I didn't have anything recording at the time, otherwise I'd have saved that. But I think a case of KartKraft and Kart Racing Pro are not quite aimed at the same market, and as such, the way the leaderboards are set up on this is quite nice. Obviously, if you've got some friends, Johnny no mates, hasn't got anybody set up for certain, so you should be able to probably extract more in the way of single player from this, definitely, as you're not just racing against yourself. You've obviously got the AI, but I think very soon there should be some multiplayer added to it, and I think this is going to take off, as it's definitely going to be a lot of fun. There is nothing beats getting out with a load of mates if you've never done it. If you have done it, getting out with a load of mates doing the old indoor or outdoor karting. I've done both, and I have to say I enjoyed them all. I didn't enjoy not winning on the indoor one. I enjoyed winning on the outdoor, but not on the indoor. Made a mistake, spun the kart, lost. Many tears were shed, but not by me. So, yeah, I think you're looking at 2 rather different markets aimed at. One, I'm not sure professional sim, but just something that could teach you maybe what you need to do to really get your kart to do what you want it to do. And one is much more, I was going to say much more a game, but I don't think that really does it justice in terms of the quality of like the latest scan tracks or anything. So it's got more game elements, I think is the correct term to use. So the good, nicely set out national and global and friend list for taking people on in time trial with 2 modes, which some people will enjoy the, oh, here's the battle every time. Other people will just enjoy it much more as I want to just drive around for 20 minutes and see how quick I can go without the interruptions, which is actually probably going to be the way I'll do it in future, because I find the all the fanfare, all the bullshit is a bit much. Now I'm just trying to remember which was it. Race 07 had a system where you could set times and it would actually tell you on the screen in live time, real time, where you were in the rankings and how far up the rankings you were. Was it that? God blimey, I played so many games I can't remember. One of them does anyway. One of them's got a hot lap where you can literally just, it will show you where you are as you go through. It might have even been on a console. That'd be terrible, that would, wouldn't it? A console game. Put shivers down my spine. Right,